Hello there, how are you doing? Now in this video we're going to learn about namespaces and this use keyword as well. Okay, so if you have two classes with the same name, PHP wouldn't know which one is being referred, right? That's common sense. Obviously it would be confused. So to solve such issue, PHP allows us to use namespace keyword. Okay, so namespace is kind of like a path in file system. For example, bookstore slash domain slash customer, it's like that. But the difference is each section of namespace is separated by this backslash. Okay, so it looks a bit weird because normally you would use in file system like bookstore slash something, right? But namespace is this way. You do it this way. Okay? So it's kind of like a paths in the file system. However, before we use namespace, one thing to note is that even though namespace and the file path will usually be the same, this is not mandatory. Okay? This is not necessary. As a developer, you can enforce the namespace. So what do I mean by that? You will see right now. Okay, so let's do that. Let's use this namespace. The first thing we want to do is let's begin by moving these two classes that we have, book and customer. Let's move them in a folder directory here. So let me create a new folder and let's call it domain. Okay, so domain, book and customer, and let me drag them inside. Okay, now when you do that, if you have any open tabs, make sure you close. Just say don't save because it's already moved there. Okay, so we got the init here, that's fine, and then we've moved these two files, two classes inside domain. Great. Now if you try to access this, let's see what we get here. Refresh. Require once, failed to open, no such file or directory. That was expected. Now let's go there. Now what we can do is we can add namespace here. So this file, we're telling PHP that this file is in this namespace. Okay, so we specify that. As a developer, we have control. It doesn't have to actually match the directory structure. Let's go ahead and let's add a namespace. So what namespace you want to use? Let's say bookstore. Okay, that makes sense. And then let's call it its domain. Okay. By this, PHP will understand anytime we want to refer to this book class, it is in the namespace of this. Okay. Now we could go crazy and add anything. Okay. So that would work still, but obviously this doesn't make sense, right? So just make sure the namespaces make sensible. So it's obviously easy to understand. Okay? Same as book, the customer also is in the same namespace, right? What we're saying is these two classes are in the namespace of domain. So bookstore domain. What you can do is, now that you have specified the namespace, you can go to init.php and on top you can use them. So how do you use them? It's pretty straightforward. That's what I was talking about, using the use keyword. Yeah. What we do is we say use, this is a special keyword, and then bookstore domain, this is the namespace we give. Now in that namespace, because both of these class have this namespace, right? Now what we're trying to get is we're trying to get the actual class book, actual class customer. So both of them are in this namespace, so that's fine. Now we need to go one step further and specify the class name as well. So we do that like so. So both of them in the same class name, and then we get the actual class and we use. This is how we can use. Okay. Now let's copy paste and let's do the same for customer. Awesome. Now we have the namespace in place and we can use them using this use keyword. And you see this pattern all the time in Laravel framework. Okay, so once you understand this, once you go through this, you'll have a great time in Laravel. All right, So it should work now. Let's give it a try. Refresh. Now we manually assign it like so. Now later we're going to use the autoloader. Okay, so until we do that, let's fix this one because this has moved to domain, right? AIN. Okay. Okay, so it has moved to domain slash. So we just change that. Now let's give it a try. Bookstore domain book not found. Okay, I didn't save the file before, so just make sure you have saved your both classes. Okay, and then you can see that. Let me also get rid of this at the moment, and instead we can see the var dump. That's appropriate. Let's put it back to first customer. Awesome. Let's give it a try. As you can see, this object is in this namespace, everything, and we have this namespace added in front. Now if you wouldn't use this pattern, what you could also do is, let's comment this out. What you could also do is, because we're trying to instantiate this book class, right? So here we are instantiating a new book. Now instead of using like so, we could even do this bookstore slash domain slash book as well. Let's save this one. Let's give it a try, and as you can see, it still works. Okay, but obviously this is very difficult, so we simply use this use keyword and specify like so. Okay, so that's how it works. Now one more thing, what if you had two similar class names? You might have another folder called library, and that would also probably have book.php. So in that case it would be conflicting, right? So what you can do in such situation is you can use this as keyword as well. Okay, so if you had, for example, let's try on this one. If you had another library folder and you had book.php and you had to import on the same file, so in that case you could do something like as, and then say my book. Okay, something like that. So you can use this as keyword to personalize, give it a different name, so that it doesn't conflict. This would work. Okay, so for example, what I could do now is I can take this my book. Now instead of instantiating this book, I can say my book. Okay, now let me save this one. Let's go and refresh. As you can see, it still works. Okay. So this is namespace. I'm sure you're pretty much clear with namespace. Okay, now in the next, let me put it back the way it was. Okay, save this one. Let's refresh, check it again. It works good. Now in the next video we're going to move on to autoloader. Okay, instead of manually loading like this, imagine you have 100 classes. In a bigger project you would have, so you wouldn't like to write like this 100 times. Okay, so I'll show you autoloader in the next video. Thank you.